Okay, 1, 2, 3. When you march in, the graduate center students are going to be on the right line. You'll be the left line.
Only to make some work, maybe we'll have you as a visiting artist.
Very close to what I
lighting. I just don't know how to turn on the stage light. But you're wasting 2 times more nerdy. That did not feel nice. You know how bad that is, right? Bad thing. I literally checked it out like third word.
Have a seat, folks. It's going to be a long morning. President Quigley, President Regal, fellow trustees, faculty, parents, grandparents, honorees, and soon-to-be graduates, welcome to the 70th graduation of Marlboro College and the second combined graduation of undergraduate and graduate students. And happy Mother's Day. It wouldn't be Mother's Day without a little snow up here. It's the advantage of a microclimate that's up here on the hill. I'm Dick Saudick, and it's my privilege to be chair of our Board of Trustees. Over the many years since Robert Frost became the first Marlboro trustee, the college has developed a tradition of intense, demanding scholarship. Many students' lives have been transformed by the efforts of Marlboro professors who have dedicated their hearts, minds, and souls to inspirational teaching. Three of the people who were perhaps the most influential in practicing and shaping this tradition are retiring this year. Among the three of them, they have taught at Marlboro a total of 135 years. No one of them has done that, but all three of them together. Each of them is loved and revered by 4 decades of Marlboro students. Geraldine Pittman de Baget, brilliant professor of English literature who pushed students to the limit, made them the better for it, and wound up with their profound love, respect, and newfound knowledge. T. Hunter Wilson, imaginative professor of poetry who has assured that the college never loses sight of its fundamental goals, who has educated generations of students to think critically, to question relentlessly, and to exercise democracy in their daily lives. And Stan Sharkey, who for 40 years has carried on the deep musical tradition that goes back to the earliest days of the college. Please join in recognizing the invaluable contribution these wonderful people have made to Marlboro. I also want to recognize the original talented ceramicist, Roberto Lugo, who will be leaving us after 2 years of sharing his fabulous art and teaching with our community, and 4 outstanding departing fellows who have enriched our lives. Marcus DiCiano, Mellon Fellow in Photography, Isabella Grunberger Kirsch, Oxford Classics Fellow, Zoe Guo, Mathematics Fellow, and Ahmed Hassanain, Fulbright Fellow in Arabic. They will all be missed, and they've all been great contributors to our college. The college will award 2 honorary degrees today. President Quigley will read their formal citations, but I simply want personally to mention each of them. Gretchen Gerzina, a Marlboro alumna of extraordinary academic accomplishment, which you'll hear more about later, served 6 years as a Marlboro trustee. She single-handedly brought the academic world into our deliberations, which is rare in a board of trustees, even in a college. She didn't speak often, but when she did, she was articulate, forceful, and fully informed. Her positions invariably carried the day. The last person I'd like to acknowledge is Vermont's lone congressman, Peter Welch. I've known Peter's work in public life for more than 35 years. He personifies what we want and deserve from our public officials. He studies and masters the complexities of incredibly difficult issues, from national health policy to the U.S. economy. He is one of the very few members of Congress respected on both sides of the aisle, and he is modest, direct, and unafraid to state his point of view. If all public office holders were like Peter, we would have nothing to worry about. In closing, I want to note an excerpt from the original Marlboro College prospectus, introduced in 1946, immediately after World War II. Quote, "Marlboro College is being founded at a time when the survival, power, and value of democracy are challenged. Its first aim, therefore, is to develop citizens who will be effective in the task of making American democracy succeed. Truer words couldn't have been spoken then, and those words couldn't be more true today. So to today's graduates, go forth and be effective in the task of making American democracy succeed. Right now, there is no higher calling. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Marlboro College on this special day to celebrate our remarkable students' accomplishments and wish them well on their journey ahead. Dick has done a great job in his talk, and he's 3 for 3 taking my 3 main themes. So I'm going to ad-lib a little here, but at least say in terms of the weather, I'm 2 for 2. We had snow flurries last year and snow today, so I love it. And I also do want to extend a very best Mother's Day wishes to everybody here. And I want to thank Dick for your tireless service to the college and willingness to assume the chairmanship of the board, leading our community during this time of renewal. In addition to our soon-to-be graduates, I especially welcome our trustees, and may I ask them to stand just so we can acknowledge them? Former President and friend Tom Regal. So Tom, would you? Parents, would the parents stand so we can acknowledge you? Yeah. Family members of our graduates besides the parents, so siblings and grandparents. Friends of our graduating students. Come on, yeah, all their friends, yeah. And our faculty and Marlboro neighbors and everybody, welcome. Thank you for being here today and being part of this event for recognition and gratitude. I begin by expressing deep gratitude to the parents, family, faculty, staff, and other students who have helped these graduates succeed. Many students have told me that they would not have made it without your loving support. They and I thank you. Today marks the college's 70th commencement, and just the second time, as Dick said, we have held a joint undergraduate and graduate school commencement. Since the first joint commencement last May, the grad school has relocated here to Potash Hill. It is wonderful to have them united with us. Now both graduate and undergraduate programs can take advantage of this beautiful place built close to nature by our founder, Walter Hendricks, using his family farm. This clearing in the woods, drawing on an apt metaphor from Walter's teacher at Amherst, Robert Frost, provides an ideal setting to create a small, intentional learning community for the enduring purpose that is described in the college 1946 prospectus and that Dick just read to you. In these turbulent times, we again feel that our democracy is at risk. That feeling has been palpable here on campus since the fall. Everywhere we look, there is evidence that our democracy is unfinished and that learning to be good citizens is a never-ending and essential task. In these times, we simply can't take citizenship and what it takes for democracy to succeed for granted. In New York Times columnist Tom Friedman's latest book, he provides an apt comment on these times by quoting two-time Nobel laureate Maria Curie. Quote, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so we fear less." Marlboro, this very special college, helps our students understand more. Here at Marlboro, our responsibility is to ensure students not only graduate with academic proficiency, including critical thinking, quantitative skills, and the ability to write and communicate clearly, but perhaps more importantly, that they have, quote, "the habits of the heart" that 19th century French philosopher Alexis de Tocqueville suggested were essential for effective, engaged citizens. At Marlboro, we are fortunate that community engagement leading to effective citizenship is in our DNA. At bi-weekly town meetings that will become weekly in the fall, led by our students, the college community, faculty, staff, and students come together to deliberate and then act on essential community matters, each individual with equal voice and vote. This process, like democracy itself, is often time-consuming and messy, and not everyone is satisfied with the process or the outcome. Despite that, it offers our students a chance to participate fully in the life of this learning community. In this very concrete way, they learn and then practice the skills needed to be an engaged citizen in a democratic society. One of the greatest joys of being at Marlboro is to witness our students live their passions, learn new skills, and grow into engaged citizens. And today's program eloquently catalogs the extraordinary breadth of their interests, from exploring ideas about food, leadership, technology, computer programming, the visual arts, consumer culture, the environment, political rhetoric, religious communication, and animal behavior, to name just a few of the plan and capstone topics. Dear graduates, as you take this next step in life, the task of making our democracy succeed lies before you. Given what you have learned here and how you learned it, I believe that you are well prepared to become engaged citizens, connected to communities who will play a critical role in helping our democracy experience a rebirth. Our commencement speakers, Solomon Botwick-Rees, Nicholas Ignacio Cardenas Tamburini, Gretchen Holbrook-Kurzina, and Peter Welch, embody the values of citizenship and service to community that are at Marlboro's very core and what our times require. In advance, I thank Solomon, Nico, Gretchen, and Peter for what I know will be inspiring words, and even more for exemplifying models of citizenship in different communities, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. On this your day, I conclude by congratulating the graduates of the class of 2017. All of us gathered here are extremely proud of you and have great expectations for the new graduates. So, dear graduates, strive to make the most out of what you have learned here. Keep close to each other, and please stay connected to the college. Our college and country need you. We need you to be the best envoys, letting others know about the distinctive quality of a Marlboro education and the difference that can make in helping our democracy succeed. Thank you and congratulations. So it is my great honor to introduce our commencement speakers for the undergraduate students. Solomon is a remarkable young man who has led our community as a former select board head person, and I've learned so much from Solomon. So Solomon, please come join us this morning.
We have arrived. Welcome, my fellow students, my dear faculty, my comrades on staff, trustees, parents, families, friends, and you, of course, the class of 2017. Welcome. Brings me great joy to be with you all today, to share this marvelous room. And I'm grateful for this time to offer a few reflections, to stand on my soapbox one last time, and to say a prayer of goodbye. Looking out at you all, well, I see a very full room. But it is not only full of us here in the flesh. I see our ancestors here today. And I want to welcome them, too. Those we carry with us. The extensive, timeless audience for our ceremony today. So I welcome our grandparents and great-grandparents, our grandparents' grandparents, our Bubby and Zadis, our Obachans and Oji-chans. I welcome the doctors and doulas who delivered us. I welcome the seed savers and bread makers who fed us. I welcome the many things and family heirlooms that have accompanied us through time, through hardship. Suitcases of relics, photographs, folk songs. So in the spirit of the day, I welcome our many mothers, the people and places who have nurtured us, nourished us, the great shoulders that we stand upon. I welcome these generations who have come before, our inspirations, whoever they may be, past teachers, past lovers, past friends. They are here with us today. So I pray, may we remember, may we celebrate with them, may we remark, what an incredible turnout. But I believe that our ancestors have been here all along, though. Our extensive audience is not just the context for this ceremony today, this ritual of graduation, this 70th commencement. I think an education at Marlboro inhabits the world of these ancestors. In a phrase, we study in relationship to time. We are joined in our writing, increasing the spine of a book, in a performance, in seminar discussion, in murals and sculptures, in a commonplace journal. We receive the past, dancing with the steps our ancestors have laid, and it is an honor. And it is a responsibility. This dancing with ancestors, this inheriting time, it has never been more significant. For we live in a world of forgetting. And this is the beauty of Marlboro, the potency of the liberal arts, and the power of critical thinking. In relationship to the past, we bring it forward, and we bring it forward renewed. We dance the dance in our own dance. And doing so, we come face to face with ancestors that we may wish to forget. But we cannot forget. We cannot escape the wake of those actions before us. If we try, we will be at the whim of the waves, and the water is rising. No, we place ourselves in the midst of the swirling world of suffering. At Marlboro, we study an entanglement with the past, critically engaging the legacies that have brought about such harm, such immense suffering. Systems of oppression, cultural forms, and social structures that cause harm, cause hunger. Our work is a critical inheritance of these technologies of self and society. These ways that we have waged war on each other, on the earth. Indeed, we are studying at the edge of time. So I believe it is a tremendous summons, an urgent opportunity for our responsibility to study at Marlboro in a time where Black lives matter. To study at Marlboro in a time where women's rights are human rights. To study at Marlboro in a time where immigrants make America great. To study at Marlboro in a time where climate change is real. But I can imagine what you're thinking. My fellow students, I know. Marlboro does not feel like belonging to a world of these urgent issues. Here on this hilltop, we are alone. The wind blows, the snow falls, and stars are most of our company. There's no cell service, perhaps even the power is out. And the things we learn seem far away from our own livelihood. Study seems opaque, just work. The ancestry who join us, who? All I have is a stack of silent books. So this vision of a Marlboro education I am offering today is not a given. We feel isolated, and we are. This inheritance I'm speaking of is not a fact. It is a skill. It is a capacity of our storytelling. As the novelist and critic Rebecca Solnit writes, and quote, "Stories are compasses and architecture. We navigate by them. And to be without a story is to be lost in the vastness of a world that stretches out in all directions like Arctic tundra or sea ice. So to love someone or a community is to put yourself in their place, we say, which is to put yourself in their story or figure out how to tell yourself their story, which means that a place is a story, and stories are geography, and empathy is first of all an act of imagination, a storyteller's art, and then a way of traveling from here to there," end quote. In an education at Marlboro, you travel from here to there. As storytellers, as philosophers, as political theorists, as improvisers, as graphic novelists and graffiti artists, we cultivate our imagination. This capacity to question, to listen, to constantly open ourselves in the light of a new perspective. We learn how to inherit. And so today, my friends, we put our Marlboro education to good use. We practice remembering. For today is the beginning of Marlboro as a memory. We are graduating alongside this place. It is now a companion, something we carry for the time being. Indeed, to appreciate the significance of commencement, we need a new language, a vocabulary beyond absence and presence, beyond loss. For we are not losing Marlboro. We have just arrived. In a sense, graduation is an alchemical ritual. We are transmuting Marlboro. Of course, the alchemy is not in the pompous circumstance, the robes, the speeches, the applause, moving a tassel a few inches. The alchemy is in our hearts. Can we open ourselves to inhabit this tender space of memory, to accept the passing of time, to savor the lastingness of its beauty? So today, we practice welcoming Marlboro as an ancestor, for we are left with the textures of memory. The warmth of afternoon sun careening through the dining hall windows, the soft hiss of snow on crisp leaves, the reverberation of footsteps in the library hallway, the dark stain of those wooden cottage walls, a racket of ladybugs in the window frame, the smell of incense when you walk into Dalrymple, the rough teacup on your fingertips. Memory lives in the life of things. Do not forget them. Our time here lives in the life of these material ancestors. Do not forget it. So carry a stone in your pocket, my friends. Remember Marlboro. May it become smooth with the warmth of your hands. May time make of it something beautiful, something new. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Nico forward to speak on behalf of the graduate students, and he will take the incredible breadth of his experience and his passion for making a difference in the classroom and share some of his reflections for us. So Nico, would you come join us?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning on this snowy morning. I'm really excited. It's my second time seeing snow in my life, so I'm really excited. I know it's nothing new for some of you, but I'm really excited. This morning, I'll be sharing a little bit about part of my story, and although it's my personal story, I hope that you can relate to it, however it makes sense to you and your own story. Learning another language, it's an adventure in itself. But learning another language in a country where it's not spoken, it's quite an adventure. When you don't have users of that language around, you need to get creative. And in the early 19s, in my native Chile, my creativity took me to read the bilingual English-Spanish dictionary every couple days. Of course, I also resorted to other methods, like listening to Aqua, and you might remember Barbie Girl. That was my first CD ever. And also to reading the US version of Club Nintendo magazine. But the dictionary, there was something fascinating about the dictionary that I couldn't find anywhere else. And it was just the amount of words that existed there, the amount of possibilities of things you could say in another language. I love words without vowel letters, like rhythm, and I love those with exotic letter combinations, like klutz. But above all, I love that knowing these words was like a secret treasure. No one else in my family could understand or speak English. So I guess this fascination I had with languages was somehow spread around in my veins since I was a kid, pumped by my young heartbeats. This treasure of knowledge became more and more valuable as I grew older. I don't know if you remember high school with a smile, if you have adventures and laughter and friends to remember. I sort of do. I cannot say my high school memories are cheerful because I was focused on surviving more than anything. Being sexually diverse in a school with other 5,000 boys, a school that was 200 years old, was not an easy scenario for me. The fear and shame of who I was left me with just one shield, and that was grades. During those years, knowledge meant good grades, and good grades meant respect. They could say anything about me, whatever they wanted, but they couldn't say that I wasn't smart. Who do you think my classmates turned to when they were about to fail English? I certainly enjoyed being seen, being needed. Knowing more than others came to justify my very presence at school. And it turned out to be my way out of ostracism, but also created a massive wall between who I really was and the way that people saw me. Now, what does that have to do with me being here today? It has everything to do. Because of the way circumstances played out during those years of my life, I saw education as a currency and as a commodity. You could get it, you could offer it, you could even sell it. And that's actually what I did with my private lessons for a long time. And I'm not sure I'm painting quite a nice portrait of myself here right now. But I did not see this relationship I had with power and education until much later, in my early 20s, when I took a TESOL course in Costa Rica. This course was led by who would also be one of my mentors at Marlboro, Professor Mary Scholl, who's back there. It was her, together with who today is my husband, Roger, and many other friends, who not just taught me, but showed me that education could be a tool for connection rather than a symbol of superiority. Going to Costa Rica to Professor Scholl's school was when I experienced learning in a different way, in a way I had never experienced before, a nurturing, life-enriching process. And sometime after this course, in 2011, I started to work officially as a teacher, and I hated it. Teaching somehow pushed me to look at myself in the mirror, to unveil who I was when I was in front of the classroom, to think why I had decided to become a teacher, and if I still wanted to be the main source of knowledge for my students. As Parker Palmer once said, the entanglements I experience in the classroom are often no more or less than the convolutions of my inner life. Viewed from this angle, teaching holds a mirror to the soul. Months and years passed, and working with students of English gradually took me back to what it means to learn, what it means to be vulnerable. I saw my students accepting they didn't know, and what's even harder, deciding they wanted to know. And even when I looked in that mirror, I saw the child who was excited about the dictionary again, who was curious about everything, and who didn't have to sacrifice who he was to be in this world. It was around this time when Marlboro came along as a great opportunity to continue exploring the revelations that I had in my practice as a teacher for almost 4 years. Yes, I needed theory to process what had happened to me in that period of time. But what I found here is a community that opened its arms and embraced me with warmth and affection. I had my own struggles here. For the first time, I was using English in the real world, and I couldn't go back to Spanish if I didn't understand somebody or I had a communication problem. But through this whole process, I felt completely supported, whether it was while learning more about neuroscience or barbecuing after a hard session of study hall. In my cohort, I found friends and their testimonies. In my professors, I found colleagues with their own passions and experiences. And in the people from this town, a type of kindness I could only dream of. And curiosity, lots of curiosity. And the courage to go back to the classroom with a renewed understanding of who I am and why I do what I do. But above all, with a resolved heart that now wants to include and celebrate diversity more than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico. At this moment, we're going to confer the honorary degrees, and I invite Dick and Gretchen to come forward. And Dick will assist with the putting of Gretchen, and I have a citation to read. As a distinguished biographer and scholar of literature, you have inspired a generation of students in prestigious colleges, both here in the United States and in England. You first became familiar with Marlboro College through longtime American Studies professor Dick Judd, whose house you visited each summer as a teenager after rooming with his daughter at summer camp. When it was time to go to college, you thought Marlboro was too small. But after a year at Syracuse University, you changed your mind and said, I knew I had come home. You graduated from Marlboro in 1972 with a plan of concentration on Dickens, and also left the college with your future husband and fellow graduate, Anthony Kurzina. After receiving an MA from Simmons College, you earned your PhD from Stanford University, where your dissertation on painter Dora Carrington led to your first celebrated biography. You have shared your unique perspective on literature and biography at colleges here and abroad, including Dartmouth College, where you were the first African American woman to chair an Ivy League English department. Most recently, you find yourself close by, and we're lucky for that, at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, where you are Dean of the Commonwealth Honors College. Your latest book of several books, Mr. and Mrs. Prince, tells the remarkable story of former slaves who moved to Vermont as landowners in the 18th century. You recently served as the chair of one of the Pulitzer juries on biography and autobiography, and were just elected to the American Academies of Arts and Sciences. Despite your busy academic career, you also served as a valuable trustee of Marlboro from 2010 to 2016. You have said, here students could think deeply, engage with each other and with the world, and go forth with the confidence that comes from individual achievement amidst a community of thinkers within this microcosm of the wider world. Your commitment to higher education and scholarly research epitomize the loftiest values of the liberal arts. Gretchen Holbrook-Gerzina, for your life of academic service in keeping with the ideals of Marlboro College, it is our pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humane Letters. So please join me in.
Thank you so much. I hear these words coming back to haunt me, and sometimes I don't remember where I wrote them or said them, so I'm glad somebody wrote them down to remind me. I was thinking on my drive up here this morning how I keep trying to arrive at and leave Marlboro. I first came here, as he mentioned, because my friend had a father who was teaching at Marlboro. So I was an adolescent when I began spending parts of my summers here. And then I came back as a student, and then I left, but as a student, I was in a band with some of the people who are trustees now, how time flies. Left again, bought a house in Guilford where I discovered the two former slaves who had lived just across the mountain from me 250 years before, and ended up writing their story. And when that was done, they said it was time to go, so I left again, came back as a trustee, and then left the board, only to be asked to come back again today. So obviously Marlboro is a permanent part of my life, and I'm really pleased to have that connection to it. On this wonderful day, and the most beautiful place is a place that made so many of us what we are today. I've come to talk about worry. Not the sort of worry that drives the push behind denying migrants access to our country, but the sort of worry that drives the biggest decisions we make about the future of education and the life of the mind. I worry for the future of culture and the arts and the humanities. As you might have heard, those things are in great jeopardy today. The already minuscule funding for the National Endowments for the Arts and for the Humanities barely survived recent national budget proposals and surely will be in their sights again in the near future. Much of this worry comes from the very real fear of not being able to support oneself or to have a decent life after graduation, absolutely legitimate concerns. Much of this also comes from the turning point when a college education began to be conflated with professional development and job training. There is no doubt that times have changed since I was a student at Marlboro. People are right to worry. At the same time, somehow this has become a fear of the arts and of the humanities themselves, as though they are subversive and not serving the greater need of production and of society, as being somehow peripheral to the human endeavor. As a university dean and a professor, I have watched this trend with some alarm for several years. Enrollments in humanities have been plummeting. 3 years ago at Dartmouth, we learned that only 9% of the students applying for admission to the college indicated that they hoped to major in the humanities. Only 9%. Recently, I was reading a memoir by Hanif Qureshi, the British author and filmmaker of such works as The Buddha of Suburbia, Sammy and Rosie Get Laid. He was looking through his late father's fictional writings about growing up in India and Pakistan and thinking about his own development as an artist in Britain. This paragraph near the end of his memoir really jumped out at me. He writes, "A few years ago, I was asked to speak to a group of business students about the point of culture. They and I were looking at one another with some bewilderment when someone said, 'Do we really need art?' I thought of the suburbs and the misuse of art and culture as social differentiation, snobbery, and of their association with pretentiousness and showing off. Yet this was not the norm. Most people participate in some kind of communal art," he writes. "They dance, sing, play instruments, take photographs, they garden, they tell stories. Almost everything we do has some aesthetic dimension. People prefer beauty to ugliness. However, culture and sensual abandon can seem like close associates. As religious fundamentalists know, art and the body are inextricable. Culture attacks all certainties," he writes, "and cultural deprivation is a form of deliberate poverty." Culture, he said, attacks all certainties. That is it precisely, in my opinion, what we need to remember and celebrate today, and it is exactly what Marlboro allows its students to do. Whether your interests lie in the lab or in the music studio, in the natural world and its future, or in the sacred, in this very special place you have learned and will take with you the best of what has been created, and you and the world will be better for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte and Matan. May I now ask Dick and Peter to come forward for the conferring of an honorary award, and then Peter will give the commencement speech. As an outspoken advocate on social issues, you have been a champion of working Vermonters and their environment throughout your career. After graduating from Holy Cross, you fought housing discrimination in Chicago as one of the country's first Robert F. Kennedy Fellows, then went on to earn a law degree from the University of California, Berkeley. You settled in Vermont's Upper Valley and worked as a public defender before founding a small law practice. You were first elected to the Vermont Senate in 1980 and were later selected by your colleagues to lead the chamber, becoming the first Democrat in Vermont history to hold the position of Senate President pro tem. In 2006, you were elected to Vermont's seat in the U.S. House of Representatives in a campaign that gained national attention for being the only contested congressional race in the country where both candidates refused to air negative ads. Think of that. Vermonters have returned you to the House by wide margin in subsequent elections. Now you are Chief Deputy Whip of the House Democratic Caucus and a member of the Democratic Steering and Policy Committee. You serve on the Committee on Energy and Commerce and the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, two areas that require urgent attention at this tumultuous time in history. And you are a founding member of the Congressional Problem Solvers Caucus. Go figure. Your accomplishments in Congress reflect a strong commitment to finding common ground on the challenges facing our nation. In an era of partisanship, you have worked across the aisle to create jobs, invest in energy efficiency, protect our national security and civil liberties, care for our veterans, ensure health care for all, and increase access to affordable education. You said, a college education has always been the gateway to engage citizenship, and Marlboro College is an outstanding example of an academic community where students are full participants. Your lifelong dedication to democratic principles stands in testimony to the highest principles of citizenship. Peter Welch, for your life of public service in keeping with the ideals of Marlboro College, it is our pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters. Now please welcome Congressman Peter Welch.
First of all, the speeches that I heard from Solomon and Nicholas and Professor Gerzina beats listening to my colleagues on the floor of the House. It even beats a lot of tweets we've been reading. But seriously, I just want to say to Solomon and Nicholas, thank you so much. It's so inspiring, I think, for us up here, for your parents, for your colleagues, to just be an embodiment of what it means to be engaged, to not be in denial about challenges, but to engage in challenges in finding satisfaction and fulfillment in the effort. So you guys were terrific. And Professor Gerzina, I love listening to you and that thought of you living so close to the former slaves and then writing their story is remarkable. But you used the C word, culture. We don't talk culture too much down in D.C., And we need to. You know, when we were going through the healthcare debate, I went over to the Smithsonian. We had a little bit of time, and at the National Portrait Gallery, there were photographs and paintings that were done in the 30s at a time of enormous economic peril. And it was public financing that was providing shoestring budgets to these artists that were depicting the beauty of the American landscape and the dignity of work. That was public dollars of a confident country saying that culture really matters. So thank you for reminding us. And you know, I'm a lawmaker, but we all know that culture is what glues us together more than prescriptive laws. And Marlboro understands that. Those of you who have been doing your work and reading and engaging with your colleagues, you know that as well. So thank you very much. I want to thank President Quigley, acknowledge President Regal, thank the Board of Trustees, and also the chair of the Board of Trustees, who is my frenemy for many years as we battled in political circles in Montpelier. Dick Sodek, you're a really wonderful Vermonter. I'm really proud to be here as your friend, as you said, over 35 years. You know, graduating is always a time of transition for the graduates. And in a good time, you're graduating into a world that's got some stability to it and where things are on the level. I'm not sure that's where you're headed, at least from a DC perspective. And I want to talk today a little bit about that, the state of our democracy, something that has been at the core of the Marlboro ethic since it was founded 70 years ago. I want to describe briefly the world we have in Washington politics. I want to talk about how we can change it. And by the way, I believe that we can. And I want to then end by saying why I think that choice to engage and make the effort to change it is the right choice for you, as it certainly has been for me. First of all, DC. If you're like me, and I think a lot of us were in Vermont, we were really rocked by the outcome of the recent election. And it wasn't just that the polls all said the other candidate was going to win. It wasn't just in my case that the other candidate was my preferred candidate. It was when I woke up that next morning, I couldn't believe that I understood this country that I lived in, because it never in my wildest imagination occurred to me that a person who said the things that he said about women, who said the things that he said about Hispanics, who said the things that he said about our Muslim brothers and sisters, that person could be elected to be president of the United States. I didn't think that was possible. And it rocked me a bit because it unsettled me emotionally as to, did I understand this world we're in? And everything since January 20th has not alleviated some of the anxiety from the wild turmoil of the whole thing going on with Comey last week, to a presidential budget that was presented that in fact did zeroed out the National Endowment of Humanities. No money is what the recommendation is. That it takes away all money from Planned Parenthood. That the EPA budget gets cut by a third as we continue to deny the existence of climate change. That water rules that were to protect people living in communities where there's coal mining from contamination in their streams, those were eliminated. That the privacy rules that protected you and your internet searches from prying eyes, those were eliminated. That's the kind of stuff that's going on that you can't make up. So that's serious. The Paris Climate Change Agreement is in doubt as to whether we'll stay in that. And of course, the biggest one of all was where the House of Representatives essentially repealed the health care bill. And I'll talk just briefly about that because it's a metaphor for the new philosophy that's in town that we've got to challenge. I was on that committee that wrote the health care bill in 2010. And we've had this elusive goal in this country since Harry Truman was president, to have a healthcare system that worked for everybody, to have universal access, make it affordable. And we've had two big steps along the way in what continues to be imperfect as a healthcare system, but it was Medicare with Medicaid in 1964, and of course there's the Affordable Care Act in 2010. We fast forward, and on that committee, we had 14 months of hearings, 74 different hearings with people from all sectors coming in to testify. We had a lot of heartache and heartbreak in the House of Representatives. I was one of the sponsors of a public option. We lost that in the Senate. I was a sponsor of prescription drug price negotiation. We lost that in the Senate. But at the end of the day, we got a bill that was expanding access to health care for millions and millions of Americans, and it made a real difference. Fast forward, about 3 weeks ago, I show up in the same committee. We walk in at 10:30. The bill that we're going to debate was written the day before, basically, or presented the day before, and it had been written totally in the dark. So as a member of the committee, I didn't even know it was in the bill. My colleagues, even on the Republican side, didn't know it was in the bill. We kind of locked the doors for 27 hours. We're reading the bill as we're proposing amendments. 27 hours later, a bill is voted, and it's on total partisan lines, and we have repealed without really replacing health care. That's what happened. Now, it turns out, after the Congressional Budget Office looks into it, 24 million people were going to lose their health care. So what we're calling reform was basically kicking to the side of the road 24 million people who were on health care. But that bill, by the way, is the one that got pulled. It wasn't bad enough. We had to make it worse in order to get it through the House. So they did. And we took away the protection that we all need at some point to be able to get health care, even if we have a pre-existing condition. And you look around this room, half of us have a pre-existing condition, and the other half are about to have it. It's coming. I hope not too soon. But the bottom line here is, how did that happen? All right, how did it happen? And it happened because what's being contested in Washington is the basic philosophy of Marlboro College, which says to build this democracy, we're in it together. In the alternative view that we're seeing advocated in Washington, as manifested by zeroing out National Endowment for the Humanities, for throwing 24 million people off of health care, is a philosophy that says you're on your own. You are on your own, kind of a social Darwinian approach to life. Now, that is not the way for a confident country to become successful. Confident countries face their problems, as Solomon said. Confident countries work together, and they know that in moving ahead, they'll be successful. But you know, let's talk a little bit about how we change it. It's what I just alluded to. The Marlboro philosophy, which talks about building a democracy by working together, is really at the heart of what we need to renew. And it's why I'm so excited to be at this wonderful college. Think about it. 7 years ago, Walter Kendricks has this idea. There's a bunch of hillside farms up here. They buy them, they log the land, they start building buildings, and there are tough times, but people with a dedicated point of view stay at it, and they build this wonderful institution where we have these extraordinary graduates today that are going to go out into the world and renew that commitment to democracy. And while Mr. Kendricks, Professor Kendricks, was doing that here, there were people all over this country right after the World War II, where the future of democracy, the war was won, but the future of democracy was very much in doubt. But it was people around the country who had that Marlboro view that decided, hey, our enemies in Japan, our enemies in Germany, we're going to make them allies. We had the Marshall Plan, we had the UN, we began NATO. We built organizations and institutions because we understood that part of our personal responsibility, in addition to being upright and honest people, working well with others, is to commit ourselves to building institutions that can help strengthen democracy in our communities. And I've been traveling around Vermont a lot when I'm home, and a lot of people are coming up to me saying, Peter, what can we do? I got to tell you something. The people I'm meeting in Vermont, they're doing it. I was in Barrie, and there's a house, 3-story house. It's not a lot bigger than the house I grew up in. I had 3 brothers, 2 sisters, mom and dad. It's now a homeless shelter. And the folks in Barrie, with a shoestring budget, put up 30 people a night in this homeless shelter. And it's in a community with other families around where they've worked out with the neighbors and there's security. That really matters. And they're so efficient that the place where they have, the kitchen where they have meals, when the meals are over, they take the tables up, the chairs out, and put in 4 bunks. Can you believe that? They just get the job done because they believe in themselves, they believe in their community, and they think part of being who they are is to reach out and help others be successful and address the problems that they have. That's a kind of stake in the ground where you don't settle back and be in a little bit of depression is because you're seeing what's going on in Washington. You're saying, I can do something here and now, and I'll do what I can. And what I so admire, when you think about Washington, where we do so little with so much, think about those folks in Barrie who do so much with so little. Think about Marlboro College that has done so much with so little over all these years. So we can do it. But then the last question is, why do we do it? And in times like this, where many people share my dismay at what's going on in Washington, they can get discouraged. What's the point? Well, you want to know something? There's no guarantee that your efforts will be successful. It's not a decision that you make because the outcome is certain. It's a commitment that you make because it's a way of life you want to embrace. You know, none of us decide the times we live in, but every single one of us can decide how we live in those times. We can be builders or we can be destroyers. We can believe we're in it together or we can believe that we're on your own. And it's Marlboro College. For the past 4 years, the full-time students have been here, and the graduate students for as long as you've been here, where that commitment that Marlboro has had, originally made 70 years ago, endures today, and you're going to represent that as you leave this hall, this graduation, and go out into the world and make a real contribution. And I'm going to end with some lines from a poem by T.S. Eliot, who kind of captures, I think, something that I associate with Marlboro. And what T.S. Eliot wrote was that the good person is the builder. He goes on, in the vacant places, we will build with new bricks. There are hands and machines, and clay for new brick, and lime for new mortar. Where the bricks are fallen, we will build with new stone. Where the beams are rotten, we will build with new timbers. There is work together, a church for all, and a job for each, every person to her work. Marlboro graduates of the class of 2017, go forth and be effective in the task of making American democracy succeed. I wish you well.
Good morning. As Dean of Faculty, it is my honor to announce the recipients of Marlboro's academic prizes. But before I begin, I would like to ask the Emeriti faculty who are here today to stand and be recognized for their continued dedication to Marlboro. As I read the names of the awards recipients, I ask that students please stand as their name is announced and remain standing until all the prizes have been awarded. And normally I would say, please hold your applause till the end, but that never works. So we'll go as we go. Okay. The Rebecca Willow Prize, established in 2008 in memory of Rebecca Willow, class of 1995, is awarded to a student or students whose presence brings personal integrity and kindness to the community, and who unites an interest in human history and culture with a passion for the natural world. And there are two recipients, Spencer Knickerbocker and Chris Lamb. See, that's what I meant. Yeah, it always happens that way. The Audrey Allen Gorton Award is given in memory of Audrey Gorton, Marlboro alumna and member of the faculty for 33 years, to the student who best reflects the Gorton qualities of passion for reading, an independence of critical judgment, fastidious attention to matters of style, and a gift for intelligent conversation. And the award goes to Logan Davis. The Hilly Van Loan Prize, and is Hilly here today? She's often here. Hilly? No? Okay. Established by the class of 2000 in honor of Hilly Van Loan, Marlboro class of 1962, and staff member for 23 years, is given to the senior who best reflects Hilly's wisdom, compassion, community involvement, quiet dedication to the spirit of Marlboro College, joy in writing, and celebration of life. And the award goes to Solomon Botwick-Reese. The William Davison Prize, created by the Town Meeting Select Board and named in honor of Will Davison, who served as a faculty member for 18 years and as a trustee for 22 years, is awarded to one or more students for extraordinary contributions to the Marlboro community. And there are two recipients, Liliana Holleritz and Crystal Graybeal. The Ryan Larson Memorial Prize was established in 2006 in memory of Ryan Jeffrey Larson, who felt transformed by the opportunities to learn and grow within the embrace of the Marlboro College community. It is awarded annually to a junior or senior who best reflects Ryan's qualities of philosophical curiosity, creativity, compassion, and spiritual inquiry. And there are two recipients, Trevor Asbury and Ann Hauka. The Helen W. Clark Prize is awarded by the Visual Arts faculty for the best plan of concentration in the fine arts. This award was established by the generosity of long-time faculty member Willeen Clark and her colleagues in the visual arts and across the college in honor of her mother. And there were two recipients, Sterling Trail and Grigory Molchavov. The Sally and Valerio Montanari Theater Prize is awarded annually to the graduating senior who has made the greatest overall contribution to the pursuit of excellence in theater production. And the award goes to Lindsay Stevens. Dr. Lauren C. Bronson Award for Excellence in Classics, established by the family of Lauren Bronson, class of 1973, is awarded to encourage undergraduate work in classics. And the winner is Lydia Neufer. The Roland W. Boyden Prize is given by the Humanities faculty to a student who has demonstrated excellence in the humanities. Roland Boyden was a founding faculty member of the college, acting president, dean, and trustee. And there were two recipients, Andrew Hart and Solomon Botwick-Rees. The Buck Turner Prize is awarded to students who demonstrate excellence in the natural sciences, who use interdisciplinary approaches, and who place their work in the context of larger questions. And there are two recipients, Margaret Hilliard and Andrea Tyrrell. The Freshman-Sophomore Essay Prize is given annually for the best essay written for a Marlboro course. And the winner is Zoe DeHart for Childhood Sexuality, Truth or Dare. And there are two honorable mentions. The first, Nick Creel for Like I Care, I Am Who I Am, Feminine Identity and Media in Perfect Blue, and Anna Morrissey for A Story to Save the World, discussing witchery in Leslie Marmon Silko's Ceremony. The Robert H. MacArthur Prize was established in 1973 in memory of Robert MacArthur, class of 1951, and redirected to Robert and also to John and Robert's parents, John and Olive MacArthur, who founded the science program at Marlboro College. As many of you know, Robert's brother, John MacArthur, a long-serving faculty member at Marlboro, passed away this winter at 94. John almost always attended commencement, and when awarding this prize, I would stop and recognize him. We will continue that practice as we offer this award in his brother's name. The contest for the prize is in the form of a question or challenge offered to the entire student community. This year's recipient of the Robert H. MacArthur Prize is Lydia Neufer. The Robert E. Engel Award, and I don't think Bob is here today, but I always call him out in case he is. No, he's not. Or he's shy and he doesn't want to stand up. The Robert E. Engel Award, established in 2011 in honor of Bob Engel, Marlboro faculty member for 36 years, is awarded to a student who demonstrates Bob's passion for the natural world and his keen powers of observation and inquiry as a natural historian. And the prize goes to Daniel Medeiros. The Jedediah Adam Leland Fells Award, established in 2015 with donations from over 80 alumni in memory of Jed Adam Fells, class of 1992, recognizes a second semester freshman or sophomore who demonstrates a passion for the literary and or dramatic arts and whose sense of humor and unique or even provocative community presence embodies the core values of the college. And the winner is Bridget Houston. The Ellen McCulloch Lovell Prize was established in 2015 in honor of Ellen's 11 years as president of Marlboro College. The prize commemorates Ellen's passion for education and the arts, lived out through her professional career and published poetry. The prize recognizes an undergraduate or graduate student's accomplishment and potential in writing across genres, including fiction, poetry, nonfiction, and creative nonfiction, and encourages emerging writers to keep developing their craft. This year's prize goes to Lindsay Cox. The Joanne Noble Stair Prize is new this year, and I believe there are members of the Stair family, I think, who are present here today. This prize is awarded to a junior or a senior who has demonstrated excellence and shown a strong commitment to social and economic justice through their plan of concentration and/or civic engagement on the Marlboro campus or at the local, state, national, or international level. And the first recipient of the Joanne Noble Stair Prize is Bella Ortiz-Wren. The President's Award, established in 2005, is given to graduate and professional studies students who demonstrate excellence in their academic experience. Students' work must show complexity in concept and execution and demonstrate individual growth and personal transformation with the potential for significant community impact. There were 5 recipients this year. Emmanuel Ajanma, Master of Arts in Teaching with Technology. Please stand. Allison Brown, Master of Science in Management. Jill Dawson, Master of Arts in Teaching with Technology. Zephyr Ethier, Master of Business Administration. And Mac Neal, Master of Arts in Teaching with Technology. On behalf of the faculty, I want to offer congratulations to all of our award recipients.
Congratulations. Now we get to the point we've all been waiting for, right? The conferring of the academic degrees. So, Dick, can you join me? And I will be reading the undergraduate degree names, their degree fields, a short description, and their planned sponsor's name. There is a full description of this in your program, and I encourage you to read that. And I'll read the undergraduate names, and then Dick and I will switch. So for the undergrads, may I invite you to begin to come forward? Ava Rivka Altman, Bachelor of Arts in History, Medieval Studies, a study of different forms of religious communications, specifically political rhetoric, and the ways in which authority and power were asserted and expressed. Hang on one second, we're not quite done. I know you want to get off the stage. Were asserted and expressed during the 11th century papal reform movement in Europe. Sponsor, Adam Franklin Lyons. Congratulations. Okay. Tim Charles Morgan Bedford, Bachelor of Art, Music, Electronic Music, and Improvisation. A study of free improvisation through writing, performance, and computer programming, and a collection of electronic music compositions. Sponsor, Matan Rubenstein and Jim Mahoney. Ellen Foster Booth, Bachelor of Arts, Biology, Animal Behavior and Visual Arts, Sequential Art and Sculpture. An exploration of animal behavior, evolution, and cognition through sequential art, sculpture, science writing, and an educational board game. Sponsors, Jamie Tanner, Timothy Seeger. The man who needs no introduction, Solomon, Religion and Philosophy and Asian Studies, an engaged Buddhist eco-theology of foodways, exploring food, cooking and eating through a constructive interpretation of Buddhist mealtime liturgy and the work of Zen master Ihai Dogen. Sponsors Amar Latif, William Edelglass, and Seth Harder. Catherine Renee Klaus, certificate in nonprofit management in addition to her Bachelor of Arts, psychology, career development, and organization management. A study of career development and organizational management using the psychology of personality development as a foundation for examining and analyzing relevant theories of motivation to better understand how personality structure influences choice. Sponsor, Tom Tolino. Logan Henry Davis, Computer Science Programming Languages, a study of programming language design and implementation, as well as an interactive modular memoir. Sponsors, Jim Mahoney, Matan Rubenstein, and John Sheehy. Jonathan Taylor Earl, Asian Studies and Philosophy, Buddhist Thought, an exploration of doctrine and its significance in the work of Chai Nun, 12th to 13th century, and the development of contemporary Korean Buddhist practice. Sponsors, William Edelglass and Seth Harder. Kelsey Ann Gately, Photography and Sculpture, an investigation of issues surrounding the self in regard to body health and chronic illness through means of photography, sculpture, and various mixed media. Sponsors, Tim Seeger and John Willis. Michaela Sue Geary. In addition to her Bachelor of Arts and International Studies, the award of a TESOL certificate, Politics and Migration Studies, this project investigates the connections between whiteness, deservingness, and belonging in the Swedish welfare state, with an internship in Alangas, Sweden, and the sponsors are Nelly Sargian and Lynette Rummel. Ian Carey Grant. Visual arts, video installation and photography, a personal exploration of aesthetics and political content through photography, video art, and installation with art historical references to British video art in the 70s and 80s. Sponsors, Tim Seeger and John Willis. Crystal Dawn certificate, in addition to the Bachelor of Arts, a TESOL certificate, Environmental Studies, Leadership and Education, a practice as research approach to teaching experiential learning courses and workshops through the lens of food at Marlboro College and the greater community. Sponsors, Jean O'Hara and Jenny Ramstetter. Andrew Hart, Literature, a study of 4 American novels examining their experiential technique and the thematic concerns that compelled their innovations. Sponsors, John Sheehy and Gloria Biamonte. Liliana Elizabeth Paquette Hallert's Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Political Theory, an investigation of the process of victimization and criminalization in intimate violence. Sponsor, Meg Mott. Raphael Holm, Visual Arts, Sculpture, a study of mixed media sculpture objects and installation, and a paper on contemporary artists working with technology in their presentation. Sponsor, Tim Seeger, and with him, or for him, are his mom and dad, Jill and T. Congratulations. Connor Linden, Visual Arts, an exploration of painting, sculpture, and interdisciplinary work informed by a study of the appropriation and subversion by contemporary artists of images and themes found in consumer culture. Sponsors, Tim Seeger, Kathy Osman, Kate Radcliffe. Kathleen Marie Mackin, Psychology and Writing, a study of the psychological, social, and personal dimensions of poverty among young people, with a special emphasis on the role of nonprofits in providing service to homeless youth. Tom Tolino, Jenny Gerard, and John Sheehy are sponsors. Marielle Mastrofano, TESOL certificate, and also a certificate in nonprofit management, politics, disability studies, an exploration of the disability rights movement and its impact on the day-to-day life of people with disabilities. Sponsors, Meg Mott and Catherine O'Callaghan. John McGill, Mathematics and Philosophy, a broad study of mathematics and philosophy with the focus is on combinatorics, structuralism, and Wittgenstein. Sponsors, Matthew Aulis and William Edelglass. Is the mic off? Sorry. The mic? So I'll shout. How's that? There it is, back on. Thank you. See, that's all you have to do, point it out. Thanks, Phil. Matthew Olson McIntosh. Matthew. Oh, okay. Matthew Olson McIntosh, Environmental Study and Politics, essays exploring place, history, and community in Memphis, northern Minnesota, and northern New Mexico. Sponsors, Meg Mott, Gloria Biamonte. Sarah Jean Menezes, Psychology and Literature and Writing, Fiction, an exploration of the impacts trauma has on identity development as revealed through the intersections of psychology and the literary arts. Tom Tolino, Geraldine Pittman DeBaget, and T. Hunter Wilson. Marceline Mitchell, Politics and Philosophy, an exploration of the making and unmaking of the democratic subject. Meg Mott, William Edelglass. Grigory Molchanov, sculpture, kinetic sculpture. The mic. Okay. Grigory, sculpture, kinetic sculpture, an exploration of memory as a conceptual framework for the creation of a body of artwork, and an analysis of Mary Lynn Robinson's housekeeping. Sponsors, Kathy Osmond, Gloria Biamonte, and John Willis. Dylan John Murphy Mancini, computer science, computer security. Improving the security of computer networks and operating systems through the development and application of software, penetration testing, and cryptology. Sponsor, Jim Mahoney. Okay, Eve Claudia Machanas Ayalo, film, video studies, and languages in French, a work in film studies and French honoring on an analysis of themes in the film A Man Escaped by Robert Bresson and the text Gravity and Grace by Simone Weil, as well as an exhibition of work in experimental film and a translation of an excerpt from the book Jeune Fille by Anne Wiaskoneski. No, I can't see it without my glasses. Anyhow, project 3 experimental film objects, and the sponsor Jay Craven and Federica Marte. So, Olivia Palmarmo, Politics and Political Rhetoric, a study of language and its power over political events with the focus on the strategies and effects of polarization, and the sponsor is Meg Mott. Caitlin Victoria Sanders, Photography and Writing, an exploration of the impact of trauma and loss on identity. Sponsors John Willis and John Sheehy. Paul Shin Lowy, TESOL certificate.
You miss Sarah.
Yeah, okay. Paul Shin Lowy, TESOL certificate, languages, Spanish and visual arts, an investigation of multicultural identity, societal value, and aesthetics of public art, from muralism to wall writing. Sponsors Kathy Osmond, Rosario de Swanson. And my deep apologies to Sarah Palacios. Sarah, will you come forward belatedly, but most gratefully? She's not here. Okay, so I'll read her. I'll read her program, A Study of Ceramics, that engages the values of the slow food movement, and her sponsors are Roberto Lugo and Tim Seagar. Lindsay Elaine Stevens, Writing and Theater, Performance Art, and Photography, an exploration of the relationship between solo travel and personal growth conducted through memoir, performance, and photography, with sponsors Jean O'Hara, John Sheehy, and John Willis. Andrea Jean Terrell. Biology, plant ecology, and photography, a study of the relationship between plants and their fungal symbionts in a tropical system, and examples of how land use history impacts present-day natural communities, with an accompanying exhibition of photography observing the everyday life of small-scale organic farming in rural New England. Sponsors, Jenny Ramstetter and John Willis. Sterling Allen Trail, Sculpture and Visual Arts, a study of metallic and ceramic sculpture with a focus on surface and architectural sculpture. Tim Seeger as his sponsor. And Karen Wales, Environmental Studies, Forest Ecology and Political Ecology, an exploration of how to promote a land ethic that acknowledges the complexity of ecological, political, and economic systems. Sponsors are Jenny Ramstetter and Meg Mott. Okay.
I'd like to ask Kate Jalama, Associate Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies, to join us for hooding the graduate students on behalf of the graduate faculty. We will be awarding the graduate degrees by degree field. After announcing the degree field, I will then read the graduate's name, and I hope I get all the pronunciations right. Please forgive me if I don't. And a short description of their final project. Receiving the Bachelor of Science in Managing Information Systems degree, Elaine M.C. Hewlett. Receiving the Master of Arts in Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages degree, Nicolas Ignacio Cardenas Tamborini. Van Hyde. Vincent Dade Liu. And Jordy Morse. Receiving the Master of Arts in Teaching Social Justice degree, Noreen L. Cusick. And Daniel B. Garcia Galilei. Receiving the Master of Arts in Teaching with Technology degree, Emmanuel Ajanma. Mary Beth Berberick. Jill E. Dawson. Nicholas P. Fahey. Matthew McNaught Livingston. Kate always looked tall to me. Emily North. Receiving the Master of Business Administration degree, E. Joy Osceola. Zephyr Lynn Ethier. Drew Jagasia. Thomas Branch Scott Rossmassler. Naomi Grace Schaefer. Bonnie J. Sigwald. Kelsa Sumner. Receiving the Master of Science in Management degree, Mary Elizabeth Anier. Lev Ben Ezra. Heather Cohen. Danielle M. Delaney. Alexis Page. Rohan C. Providence. Who created the Brattleboro Storm Soccer Academy. Sarah Ann Swift. We also award 8 Masters of Arts in Teaching, 3 Master of Science in Management, and 1 Master of Business Administration degree in absentia. And that is the end of the graduate names. Thank you, Kate. By the authority vested in us by the State of Vermont and the Board of Trustees, we now declare you graduates of Marlboro College.
So congratulations to all the graduates. And if you have not already done so, it is my great pride and pleasure to ask you to move your tassel from right to left, signifying that you are officially graduated. I'd now like to introduce Janaki Natarajan, Degree Chair for Masters in Teaching for Social Justice, to give the valediction.
Namaste. And namaste to you. I bow to whatever is good in you. Well, humans, dear humans, looking around and sending you on your way, the young ones, is my task today. You've been here studying and reading and playing, sad and happy, but now you will be on your way. I would like to pour libations to our ancestors walking from Olduvai in Mother Africa. And here we are now, here in Marlboro, as sisters and brothers, all of you, young and old and middle, it's good to see you. Our ancestral voices, which echo in me, ask me to say to you, plunge into humanity. And what does that mean? In Tien An Man, surrounded by a sea of humanity, a girl turned to her mother and said, "Amma, isn't this great? We cannot fall, held together within humanity, amongst the people. Ancient communities, collectivities are broken, but we cannot and surely do not want to repeat the past. I do not wish to repeat the building of caste, nor enslavement or supremacy, nor warlords, nor wars now, so a few can be supreme and rule. Why, having experienced the Holocaust, do humans, the same humans, act the Nakba of Palestine? So plunge, but with the principles like the pine tree and willow-like tactics. Humans do not want to fall into the dust alone. None of us do. Listen, the Damaruga fills the caverns of the mind, lit incandescent, shadowed cool places replete with work, food, and coconut water for everyone. So the principles, who owns and who rules, who labors and who benefits, plunging to build a world we wish to see. Plunge. opposing ancestral voices. Even your elders oppose us to gain a future. The signposts are writ large. Read and rewrite and follow or not to your future. Like so many, we maim ourselves to beg so we may eat cake. But can you do so? I cannot. Walter and Fanon and the rest sit near my years, our years, telling and telling, speaking past bitterness, speaking history, and speaking the future. Pine and red earth cannot meet. Yes, they can on this earth. Light and darkness cannot exist without the other. Even Fanon never allowed for separation, but the unity in struggles. Do you love the people, the working people? Do you love labor? As I was told, be ordinary, not exceptional. Some say that life is like a kaleidoscope. It's not so. Patterns seem to change. Some say patterns cannot change. But that's not true either. Break the kaleidoscope when it is but rolled board with bits of glass. Make a prism. See the light shine through myriad shafts, radiate and recreate. And this is life. Be fearless. And be fearless. And change the world to a better place. Namaste.
Thank you, Janaka Ji, Guru. And I thank in advance Helen and Matan, who are going to provide recessional music. And I would ask if you would please remain in your seats during the recession. And then we cordially invite you to have some refreshments in our beloved dining hall afterwards. And for those of you who want one last chance to grab some Marlboro memorabilia or swag, the bookstore is open till 3. So thank you all.